Hello everybody! I am so excited to show you the cards that I have today. Let me just see if I can get my video up here so that I can see your comments. I believe, yep. Things are happening, things are working. Perfect. Okay, looks like Shirley and Sandra are here. So I'm gonna get started. So some of you, oh, and Laura, hello. I believe, oh, yay, I can't see your comments. Perfect. Hi, Sandra. So some of you will have gotten a make and take packet that includes the supplies to make the cards we're gonna make today. So you get that by being a customer, so placing an order during the month, or being one of my Team Achievers. So most of my packets went out. I didn't send them out to my Team Achievers yet for a couple of reasons, not the least of which being is that I ran out of linen thread and needed to order some more linen thread before I could send them out. So if you haven't received them yet, don't worry, this video is going to be available and you can actually watch it after the fact if you need to be reminded how the cards go together. I'll post some photos of the cards as well. I'm going to be using the stamp set A Grand Kid today. So this has a bunch of different kind of kid targeted kind of greetings and stuff, but there's some in here as well that are fairly generic and you can use for anybody. You can use any sentiment set though. It's not super finicky as to what set stamps you use, so you can change up the greeting, you can change up the colors, whatever you want. I'm going to be using mostly, actually it's all current ink colors, so I'm using Cinnamon Cider, Just Jade, Misty Moonlight, and Magenta Madness. But you can swap those colors around. I'll tell you as we go along kind of some different options that might work for you. I'm also going to be using the two Pick-a-Punches. I can't remember what they're called right now, the different ones. One of them, I think this is the Lovely Label, and I can't remember what this one is called. This one is new to the holiday catalog, but it works the same as the Lovely Label one. So the way these work is they're a regular punch, but they have two different tracks that you can punch in. You can also punch 3 different widths. So what that looks like, if I can find some cardstock around here, that's the right, or vellum works too, except that's not the right thickness. All right, let's bring out my little cutter here. I'm gonna cut some cardstock to the right sizes. So you can do a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, or 1 inch. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch and 1 inch, and then I have to go hunting for another piece of cardstock to do 3/4 inches. All right. So we've got 3/4 of an inch there. Let's see, I think I can get another one out of this. And then I can show you all the different options. Because that's a really cool thing about this is that there is so many different options. So I have 2 3/4 inches. Oh, I've got close enough, whatever. You'll get the general gist. Okay, so with this one here, the 1/2 inch, you see how there's those different steps in there? The 1/2 inch strip is gonna go right into that bottom one. And as long as it lines up fairly straight side to side, when you go in and punch, it'll be even. And you can do that on the other one as well. And it's got that cool little edge. Now for the 3/4 inch one, you're going to go on that second step up and you're going to slide that in there. Same thing, as long as it's kind of side to side even, you punch and then you've got a different shape. And then these of course layer onto each other fairly well. And then the 1 inch, you're going to go on that top step and it'll punch the hole shape. So you actually have 6 different shapes that you can punch out. Oops, and that one, that's what happens when it's not straight. So let me see if I can get that. With the shorter pieces, it's really hard to get them in and to get them straight. So let's see if I can get one that's kind of shows you what that looks like. No, that's not gonna work. All right, but you get the idea. So there's 6 different pieces from each punch. And then this one here, because the shapes aren't that different, they're just different widths, I'll just show you one of each. So we're gonna slide that in there. That makes that nice little pointed kind of arrow piece. And then this will flag the end. And that was not straight at all. Can't get that to go straight. The short pieces are really difficult to work with. I'm just warning you. There we go. Longer pieces are easier. So you can do both sides, you can do different sides, you can mix and match. It's all fair game. So I'm going to be using those kind of throughout the projects here. And then the other thing, we're going to be using the Flowers for Every Season Designer Series paper. So I wanted to show you what that all looks like. And this is just from the resource binder. So again, if you wanted to get one of these, that's my other group, my other class. But it's got all the different patterns in here. So there's some kind of wintry ones, there's some more summery ones, some nice springtime ones. There's not a lot of kind of fall, though some of the colors would work for fall as well. But it's kind of a nice selection of both the florals and some neat patterns. So we're going to be using a bunch of different patterns from this designer series paper. And you will have gotten some different patterns as well from each other. So what I might show you might be a different pattern than what you've got in your packet, but I'll show you some kind of different alternative pattern combinations that I've used. Okay, so let's start off, and we're going to start off with the yellow card base. So this is Bumblebee, and then I've got some linen thread and some embellishments. You've got this round die cut piece and then a punched vellum piece and this longer piece of designer series paper. So first and foremost, like every time, we're going to burnish our card base using the edge of your bone folder, really pushing down into the table, making sure that that fold is nice and crisp. I'm going to do my stamping as well, and I'm going to use this You're So Loved. I'm going to stamp it in Just Jade. And the stamping on this one is super simple. It's just the sentiment onto that circle. Easy peasy. And then we're on to layering up all of our pieces. So I've purposely cut this, or not cut I should say, the designer series paper a little bit long. And that's just because it's a 6-inch piece and it was easier just to cut 2 inches, and then we'll trim it once it's on the card. So I'm going to glue this onto here. I'm not taking it right to the folded edge. You could, nothing wrong with doing that. I just decided not to. And then I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to trim off the extra designer series paper. You could use a trimmer as well, but I find snips work really well as long as I'm following something so that I don't get too crooked. Okay, now we're going to take our linen thread, and there's actually should be enough in your packets that you can actually wrap this around several times. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a glue dot down where I want my sentiment to be. And then I'm going to put a glue dot there because that's going to be hidden. That's going to be kind of my base for my thread to wrap around. And I'm going to wrap it around once and twice. And then tack it down so that it stays put. Now I'm going to layer up my pieces here. I need some dimensionals. And I'm just going to dimensional up this. This is going to layer onto that vellum piece. So whichever way you want to put it, this way or that way. I think I put it the other way, so let's put it this way on this one. And then dimensionals on the back of this as well. And I'm just offsetting my dimensionals a little bit. You don't have to, you could stack them right on top of each other. I'm just weird that way. And then we're gonna pop that on there again to cover up that glue dot. Because now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a length of linen thread. I'm gonna double it up like this. And then we're gonna tie a bow in this as if it's one length. So I'm gonna make my little bunny ears, cross them over, and pull through, or however you find it easiest to make a bow. Pull these in a little bit, make it a little bit smaller. And a little trim. I like to leave, when I'm tying freestanding bows like that, I like to leave it just on the roll. If you find that that doesn't work for you, you can cut off a chunk too. That would work just fine. And then we're going to pop this on here somewhere. And you can put it anywhere you want. I'll show you my other version of it shortly, and then you can see how it's different. All right, so now I'm gonna put some of these gems on there. I don't want to use up all of my gems, so I'm actually going to pick kind of one of each of the colors that's in here. So I'm gonna do my Just Jade, my Bumblebee, and my Misty Moonlight. Alrighty, so there is that card finished. This is the other version that I did. So the only thing I did different was this vellum piece just turned 90 degrees. I did have a different designer series paper in the background, and I put my bow underneath instead of on top. So either way you do it, or mix and match, whichever you want, or whatever the supplies you have are, there you go. All right, next card. This one we're gonna use that Cinnamon Cider card base. You also have a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and then you have some strips here. So you should have 3 designer series paper strips that are kind of in that Bumblebee colors. Has a little bit of cinnamon cider in there as well, but if you've got them turned over, they might be a little bit different colors. I know, Sue, it's the glue dots are the secret to life. They make everything so much easier. For this one, you also have a little punched piece here, so I'm gonna stamp on that with cinnamon cider, and I'm just gonna do the birthday, happy birthday greeting here. There we go. Put that away before I put my elbow in it. All right, and now we're gonna work with all of our pieces here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make kind of some layers, kind of like on a cake. So you're gonna spread out those, and then you've got these pieces of embossed Bumblebee. And we're gonna layer those in between. You might have to work out the spacing a little bit. So what I like to do is I like to kind of have the spacing worked out, and then carefully I'll pull one piece at a time off and glue it down. Usually going like from the edges and then going into the middle. So that's what we'll do here today. Glue this down, then we'll glue this one down. Hi Pam, oh, you're hanging out on Texada today. Are you camping over there? All right, so now again, we've got the spacing kind of worked out. I'm just going to slide this piece out. And then this down. And then last but not least, we're going to fill in those gaps with the embossed pieces. And this is the Ornate Garden embossing folder that I used on these, and I used it on the next card as well. Oh, nice. So many people are out camping, Pam, but I didn't really think that you were the camping type. Maybe glamping. There's plenty of that going on these days too. Okay, so now we've got this, and you could actually do this vertical or horizontal, I just realized. But I think I'm gonna stick with vertical. Or you know what, my other one's horizontal. Let's do this one or my other one is vertical, so let's do this one horizontal. So we're gonna do very similar to what we did before. We're going to put a glue dot where we want our sentiment. And then, sentiment, sounds like cinnamon. We're gonna wrap around here twice. Can you see why I ran out of linen thread? And now we're gonna dimensional this and put it up onto our card base. This one, if you didn't have the cinnamon cider ink, you could totally use Bumblebee, or you could use even crushed curry. Looks very similar. So if you don't have the exact colors, it's not the end of the world. All right. We're gonna pop this up on here. Just on a couple of dimensionals. There we go. And then we are going to do our double bow again, and this is literally the last of the linen thread I have in the house. So don't mess it up. There we go. And then we're going to do this and pop it on here. And I'm actually going to pop this one up there. All right. Now with this one, I use just the cinnamon cider embellishments, and I actually just put 2 on there. I don't usually do that. I usually always put uneven numbers on there, but it kind of works. So I'm just going to stick with that. So there's the vertical version. And the horizontal version. So same supplies, same stamp set, same everything. The only difference is vertical versus horizontal. So there we go. You can do whatever you'd like. And these, of course, these will work with any designer series paper. I've used the Flowers for Every Season, but whatever designer series paper you have, you can make these cards with. That is the beauty of them. Okay. Last but not least, this is one of my favorite card layouts, and my team members, you may recognize this one from our meeting last night. And I will show everybody the version that we did for the meeting last night, if I can, there it is, perfect. So this one, we've got the Misty Moonlight card base. You also have a chunk of Misty Moonlight that is not quite the same size as your card. So what I've done is usually I do my first layer at 4 by 5 1/4. This one I've done by 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it's actually got a little bit less room, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to distress that edge to give it a little bit more texture. So I'm just going to take my snips and I'm going to run them along the edge. And all this is going to do is kind of break up that edge and rough it up a little bit. And you start fairly smooth, like start fairly easy, and don't push too hard, and then you can always do more. And then once you're happy with it, we'll glue it onto our card. The trick is always getting the corners, because it's easy to just cut the corners off or not distress them at all. So you want to make sure you get right out to the corners and actually give them a good little, it's almost like you're shaving the edge of the paper, I guess. There we go. And then all this extra kind of flocking stuff we're not going to be using. We're just going to wipe it off and toss it in the garbage. Or in my case, onto the floor. Sweep it up later. Okay, so now we've got that nice little distressed layer. We're going to glue this onto our card base. There we go. Yeah, Sue, I do like that color combination too. It's not kind of as in your face as some of the other ones are. Okay, and now you've got a whole bunch of strips left over. There's going to be some designer series paper and some white and some cardstock and even maybe, oh, am I short a piece here? Uh-oh, I'm short a piece. There's 2 pieces that are embossed. And apparently I needed to grab another one. All right, 2 pieces that are embossed. Okay, so these ones, we're gonna punch all of these. So I was just gonna show you again some of the punching. So you've got 2 different designer series papers and they're all kind of the same length. Here, we're just actually going to change up the size by how much is punched off the end. So I'll show you that here in a moment. So because for some of them it actually punches a little bit more off, so when you look at these, see where the edge is kind of at a different spot, so they'll kind of end up being not quite the same length if you're measuring this piece here. They're not really a different length, they just kind of look it, I guess is the best way to describe that. And you guys are really lucky because I did all this punching for you. So if you're making this from the Make and Take packet, you don't have to be doing all this punching. I watched a lot of CSI while punching this month. And then we are going to be doing a little bit of stamping. And this one we're actually going to be punching with the other one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch it with this side here so that we get kind of a label shape like that. Okay, that's the punching done. So on to the stamping. I'm going to use Misty Moonlight and the Congratulations stamp to stamp onto the label here. Easy peasy. And then I've picked this big floral image here from Fancy Phrases. And I'm going to do some tone-on-tone stamping just on the Magenta Madness pieces. You could use any pattern, any floral, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be this exact one. Just anything to add kind of some texture to it. And with that tone-on-tone. And if you don't have Magenta Madness, you could use Melon Mambo for this as well. Or you can even use Versamark. So the watercolor or watermark ink works really well if you want to do tone-on-tone stamping, because that's kind of what it's meant for. And then you just don't emboss it. I think most of us think of Versamark for embossing, but we forget that you can use it for tone-on-tone stamping too. Okay, So now the fun part of this whole adventure is we're going to start putting this stuff together. So all of these little strips, we're just going to start layering them on here. And again, you might have some different patterns in your designer series paper, or for example, this one, the lines might go the other way. Totally fair. You do whatever you've got. And if you don't have a packet and you want to make your own, you can use whatever designer series paper you have. It does not have to be this, and I'm going to show you what it looks like with a different designer series paper. So kind of fiddle fart around until you're happy with it, and then just start gluing things down. Don't forget that the first ones that you glue down are actually going to be beneath the other ones. So you may want to take that into consideration. So like this one here, if I do want it to be underneath, I'm going to have to glue that one down first. And then these ones can go over top. And again, this is with that ornate floral embossing folder. Oops. And the nice thing is they don't have to be straight either. You just kind of plop them down wherever they'll go. And we'll cover up some of that glue with the next layer. Yeah, see, this is a great way to use up all your scraps. You could totally just start a scrap pile and then start picking things out of it. Okay, now I'm going to attach some of my little ribbon pieces here to the back of my sentiment. So how I'm going to do that is by taking my Stampin' Seal and running it across the back of my label. And then I'm just going to plop this right on top of my ribbon pieces. Ta-da! And then I'm going to add some dimensionals. There we go. And we'll pop this up. Just like that. And then we're going to add some of the little enamel dots. There we go. All right, so this is the other version that I did of it. So just a little bit different arrangement, different designer series paper pieces, but the same colors. And then this one here was one that I did with an entirely different set of colors and designer series paper. So different ribbon, different designer series paper. I used a die cut here and I used rhinestones instead of the enamel dots. So totally different look. I dog-eared the corner there a little bit, used a different sentiment, but same idea. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I'll bring all the cards back in here, or all three of my cards that I made right now. If you didn't receive a Make and Take packet and would like one, I do have a couple left, so you can place an order, or if you join my team, you'll get one as well. And then we'll be on to next month's Mail and Make, which is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit of a Halloween theme, so I'm super excited for that. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy the sunshine. Have fun stamping or whatever you're doing out there today. Stay safe. Bye.